Have you ever wondered why some people seem to fade after 80, even if they were vibrant and sharp just a few years before? It's a question that hits close to home, whether you're thinking about your future or watching a loved one age. The truth is, most assume it's just genetics or luck dictating life past 80. But what if the real reasons are hiding in plain sight, quietly shaping how long and how well we live? In this video, we uncover 5 unexpected factors, often overlooked and rarely discussed, that explain why many older adults struggle to stay healthy and thrive beyond 80. These aren't the usual tips about diet or exercise. We're diving into deeper, subtler forces that slip through the cracks, even for those who've done most things right. You'll discover surprising truths about everyday habits, like small social interactions or simple movements, that could be the key to a longer, fuller life. Watching until the end will equip you with practical insights to act on now, whether you're planning for your longevity or helping someone you care about. You'll learn how to spot these silent threats, reverse their effects, and age on your terms. Don't miss this chance to change the way you or your loved ones approach aging. Stay with us, because these 5 reasons might just rewrite your future. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Loss of microsocial engagement. One of the most insidious and yet often overlooked reasons that many older individuals find themselves struggling to live beyond 80 is the subtle loss of what experts call microsocial engagement. This is something that most people don't even notice slipping away, but it is crucial for maintaining our emotional and mental well-being. You see, it's not about the big, grand moments in life, like family reunions or close-knit friendships. Those relationships, of course, continue to matter deeply. But rather, it's the small, almost invisible interactions, those fleeting moments that once filled our day with simple but significant exchanges, that start to disappear. Think about it for a second. Remember how often you used to greet the mailman as he walked by, exchanging a friendly, "good morning." Or how you'd share a chuckle with the cashier at the grocery store while she rang up your bread and eggs. Perhaps you would smile and wave at the neighbor out walking their dog across the street. These little interactions, seemingly so insignificant, were not just routine, they were vital. They helped regulate your nervous system, giving your brain that much-needed jolt of social stimulation. They kept your mind sharp and, perhaps most importantly, they reminded you that you belong. But as time goes on, particularly after 80, something subtle begins to happen. Many older adults stop making those small but meaningful connections. They begin to shy away from going to the store themselves, opting instead for online orders or asking family members to do the errands for them. The simple act of exchanging a few words with a stranger becomes more challenging, perhaps because hearing isn't as sharp as it once was. Even the decision to step outside may seem daunting, especially when the weather isn't ideal, or when the knees feel unsteady. The warmth of the sun or the crispness of the morning air might feel too much to bear. What we don't realize is that by withdrawing from these seemingly insignificant interactions, we are also retreating from the very things that keep us alive, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. This decline in microsocial engagement quietly chips away at your vitality. Most people don't even notice the shift at first. They think they're simply simplifying their lives, reducing complexity. But the truth is, by cutting out these low-level social interactions, they are depriving themselves of something much deeper. These casual, everyday exchanges with others are keeping the brain engaged, elevating mood, and most importantly, signaling to your body that you are still very much part of the world, that you matter. I've personally known older men in their 80s who have remained sharp and engaged simply by maintaining these small rituals. They'd walk to the same coffee shop every morning, exchanging pleasantries with the barista and saying a quick hello to the regulars. That 5-minute stretch of human connection wasn't just a habit, it was essential to their mental and emotional health. It gave their day structure, purpose, and accountability. It reminded them that they were seen, that they were connected to something larger than themselves. It wasn't just routine, it was lifeblood. There's a real biological price to be paid when this disappears. When people experience prolonged loneliness, whether the deep, overwhelming kind or the subtle, creeping type that builds over time, the body responds with stress. The brain releases stress hormones, which then raises inflammation and weakens the immune system. But it's the impact on our cognitive function that's particularly devastating. The brain's ability to manage memory, attention, and emotional regulation begins to shrink. And the worst part is, we don't always realize it's happening until it's too late. In simpler terms, this leads to aging, both in the body and in the spirit, accelerating far too quickly. So, if you find that you've stopped chatting with people throughout the day, or if you've stopped making small trips to the store, or if you've begun avoiding casual conversations altogether, it's time to reverse that. It's time to bring back those small, seemingly insignificant moments of connection. Those moments are telling your brain and your body, I am still here. I still matter. And let me tell you, that message is one of the most powerful forms of medicine you can get. It can keep you alive, not just in years, but in spirit, in joy, in purpose. Never underestimate the power of simply being seen, heard, and remembered in your community. It is life-giving. Number 2, overcautious inactivity. There's a quiet, insidious reason many people don't make it past 80, and it often comes disguised as wisdom, being careful. We're taught to be cautious, to protect ourselves, to avoid risk. But here's the thing. There's a fine line between being careful and becoming so overly cautious that we stop moving altogether. Once we cross that line, the consequences aren't immediately apparent, but they build up slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day we realize how far we've drifted from the active life we once knew. It usually starts with good intentions, of course. You slip on the stairs, or perhaps you feel unsteady on a rainy sidewalk, and suddenly, the world seems just a little too dangerous. So, you decide to play it safe. You stop going for those long walks, you avoid bending down to reach low shelves, and even getting in and out of the car becomes an ordeal. You sit down more, and you stay seated for longer stretches, telling yourself it's just temporary, just until you feel better, just until you're sure that it's safe. But here's the heartbreaking truth no one tells you. When you stop moving, you stop living fully. People around you might pat you on the back, offering praise for being cautious, telling you, take it easy, don't push it. And in the short term, you might feel comforted by this reassurance. But in reality, the stillness you've created for yourself, this safe life, is slowly robbing you of the very thing that keeps you strong, stable, and independent. Movement. Think of your body not as a machine that rests to stay efficient, but more like a garden that needs constant tending to stay healthy. If you leave a garden untended, it becomes overrun with weeds and loses its vibrancy. The same goes for your body. When you reduce activity to a mere trickle, it doesn't just maintain, it weakens little by little. One of the first places this shows is in your core, the deep muscles that stabilize your trunk. Most people don't realize how vital these muscles are for everything. Standing, walking, lifting, even something as simple as getting up from a chair. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. When these muscles go unused, even for just a few weeks, they start to shrink. And once they shrink, your balance begins to suffer. You start wobbling, your movements become slower, less steady. And before you know it, you're trapped in a vicious cycle. The less you move, the less your body remembers how to move, until even the simplest actions feel impossible. I remember a man named John. He was 82 when he decided to stop going on his evening walks after he slipped once on a rainy day. There were no broken bones, just a scare, but that was enough to stop him in his tracks. In his mind, avoiding the risk of another fall became the priority. But what he didn't realize was that by stopping, he wasn't protecting himself. He was slowly making himself more vulnerable. In just 6 months, he lost 10 pounds of muscle. His legs, once strong, felt like jelly. His doctor warned him, but by then, the damage had already begun. John didn't stop walking because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped walking. Now, I'm not suggesting that you throw caution to the wind. There are ways to protect yourself, using handrails, wearing stable shoes, clearing obstacles from walkways, and using a cane if it helps. Smart precautions are important. But there's a big difference between managing risk and letting fear dictate your every move. When fear starts to rule your life, when it becomes the lens through which you see the world, your body forgets how to move. If you've noticed that you're doing less, not because you physically can't, but because you're afraid of what might happen, pay attention to that. Ask yourself, am I protecting myself? Or am I slowly disappearing, giving up pieces of my life, bit by bit? Because living past 80 isn't just about avoiding falls or injuries. It's about keeping your body in motion, about continuing to engage with the world, even if it means moving more slowly, more deliberately, and with more care. Movement is life. It's how your body stays alert, how your muscles stay strong, how your heart keeps beating with purpose. Movement is what reminds your body and your soul that you're still here, still needed, still living. Number 3. Disrupted sleep cycles from irregular light exposure. As we age, there's a hidden force at play within us that keeps everything running, our internal clock. It's the circadian rhythm, a silent guide that controls so many of the processes that keep us healthy and vibrant. This clock doesn't have a tick or a tock, but it governs our sleep, our energy, our mood, and even our immune system. At its best, it works behind the scenes, helping our bodies repair and rejuvenate themselves, especially at night. But as we get older, particularly after 80, this internal clock becomes more fragile, more sensitive to disruptions that we might not even notice. One of the most common culprits that throw our rhythm off balance is the amount and timing of light exposure. You might not think it's a big deal at first, but the changes can add up. Maybe you've noticed that you're starting to feel a little more drowsy in the afternoon, or that you're sleeping in a little longer than usual, especially if you're staying inside during the colder months. Maybe you find yourself turning on the TV in the evenings or leaving lights on long into the night while reading a book or watching a movie. These small shifts might seem like nothing at all, but together, they disrupt the very system that keeps you aligned with the natural world around you. It's essential to understand how deeply our bodies rely on natural light. Bright morning sunlight sends a clear signal to our brain. It's time to wake up and get moving. It helps to regulate our metabolism, sparks energy, and sets the tone for the entire day. But as the sun sets, our bodies expect darkness. That's when the body releases melatonin, the natural hormone that prepares us for deep, restorative sleep. However, when we're not exposed to enough natural light during the day, or when our evenings are bathed in artificial light from screens and lamps, our internal signals get scrambled. The body can't tell when it's time to be alert and when it's time to rest. This disruption manifests in many subtle ways. You might find it more challenging to fall asleep, or perhaps you wake up feeling groggy and unrested, even after a full 8 hours in bed. Your energy might feel depleted throughout the day, and your mind a little foggy. These disturbances aren't just about feeling tired. Over time, they take a toll on your immune system, make your moods harder to manage, and increase the risk of cognitive decline. Sleep deprivation can weaken your body's defenses and contribute to a whole host of health problems. Then, there's the issue of vitamin D, a vital nutrient that is produced when our skin is exposed to sunlight. As we get older, our ability to make vitamin D naturally through sunlight decreases. This makes regular outdoor exposure even more important, especially after 80. Without enough sunlight, we not only risk weakening our bones and muscles, but our immune system can also falter. This was something I saw firsthand when I spoke to Susan, a bright and warm-hearted woman, 84 years old. She had been feeling increasingly exhausted and mentally foggy, but her blood tests were normal, and her diet hadn't changed. After some investigation, her doctor simply recommended that she sit by a window every morning for just 20 minutes, allowing the morning light to flood in, and to shut off her screens 1 hour before bedtime. The results were astounding. In just 2 weeks, Susan's sleep improved, and with it, her memory and mood. It wasn't a magic pill or new treatment. It was the power of light. It was as simple as that. Sometimes, we think the answer to our struggles lies in something complex or groundbreaking. But often, it's about returning to the basics, to the natural rhythms that our bodies have known for centuries. So, if you've been spending most of your time indoors with the curtains drawn or letting artificial lights dominate your evenings, it's time for a change. Take a few moments each morning, ideally within an hour of waking up, to step outside. Even if it's just for a few minutes on your porch, let the sun's rays touch your skin and fill your eyes with that life-giving morning light. And when evening comes, start dimming the lights. Allow your body to prepare for rest naturally. These simple adjustments are more than just comfortable routines. They're essential for your well-being. They are a gentle act of survival. What so many people overlook is that aging doesn't only come from wear and tear. It can also come from a lack of order, from a disorganized rhythm in the body's systems. By restoring those light cues, that healthy sleep schedule, and those daily routines, you're telling your body, we're still here. We're still moving. We're still in sync. Even at 85, you can show your body that it's not too late to get back on track, to embrace the natural flow of life once more. You're telling your body it can still thrive. And that is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Number 4, emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By the time many people reach their 80s, they've endured more loss than most younger folks could ever fathom. The passing of a spouse, a sibling, a lifelong friend, and sometimes, tragically, even a child. The world around them may offer polite sympathy, a few comforting words, and perhaps a well-meaning gesture, but what is so often overlooked is just how deeply these losses carve into the soul and the body. The grief doesn't just linger in memories. It settles deep within. And by the time you're past your 80s, what's left behind isn't simply sorrow, it's emotional suppression. It's a quiet, almost invisible habit that grows over time. The tendency to bottle up the pain instead of allowing it to be expressed. It's putting on that brave face, even though inside, a part of you is shattered. You feel like you should be used to it by now. After all, it's been so many years of loss. Or perhaps, there's no one left who truly understands the depth of what you've lost. But here's the heartbreaking truth. The body never forgets. When grief isn't processed, when it's never spoken, never shared, or never fully felt, it doesn't simply vanish into thin air. It accumulates. It hides itself away in the nooks and crannies of your being, where it cannot be seen by the outside world, but it's always there, quietly festering. And over time, this emotional weight doesn't stay confined to your heart. It spreads throughout your body. It begins to affect your immune system, making you more vulnerable. It messes with your digestion, your sleep, your mood, your hormones. It keeps your nervous system on edge, always in a state of quiet, relentless tension. And here's the most painful part. It happens in silence. Outwardly, you may appear calm, perhaps even serene. You might even say you're fine, convincing yourself that you've learned to cope, learned to carry the load. But deep inside, your body is speaking volumes. If your shoulders feel heavier, if your breathing is shallower, if your spirit feels more drained, if the spark that once made you has dimmed just a little too much, then grief that has been buried away for years, could very well be the culprit, even if you've never said a word about it. I remember a man named Robert. He was 86 when his wife of 60 years passed away. He didn't cry much. He said it wasn't his way, that he was doing just fine. But within a year, things began to change. He lost weight, stopped attending his usual senior center, and struggled with sleepless nights. Not because of any physical illness, but because his body was carrying the burden of sorrow. Sorrow that had never been allowed to escape. Emotional pain doesn't need to be loud or dramatic to wreak havoc. It can be as quiet as a whisper, but its toll is profound, and when it shows up in your health, it's often so subtle that the connection isn't always clear. What keeps people alive well past 80, however, isn't just about physical strength. It's about emotional ventilation. It's about finding safe, open spaces to express sadness, to voice fears, to admit longing. It's about being able to say, "I miss her," or "I'm still angry," or "I feel alone," without fear of judgment. That kind of emotional release is what allows the heart to breathe again. And when the heart can breathe, the body can begin to heal. The truth is, people who live long, fulfilling lives often have a way of releasing the emotional buildup they've carried through the years. Maybe it's a trusted friend, someone who can listen without offering advice, just being there in silence with understanding. Maybe it's a journal, where thoughts and feelings can spill out freely. It could be faith, a community group, or even a therapist. Someone who helps them unpack the stories, the pains, the regrets they've been carrying for decades. Whatever the outlet may be, the principle remains the same. What gets expressed can be transformed. What gets buried festers. So, if you've been holding something in, not because you want to, but because you didn't know where to put it, then it's time to make space for it to be released. It's time to permit yourself to grieve, to feel, and to finally let go of what has been quietly stealing your peace. Number 5. Gradual loss of daily purpose. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. There's a silent, almost imperceptible erosion that takes place as we age, one that is often overlooked, yet it profoundly affects our overall well-being. It's the loss of daily purpose, and it happens so gradually that we don't even realize it until we find ourselves standing at the edge of a quiet, empty day, wondering where the energy, the motivation, and the joy went. Now, let me be clear, when I say purpose, I'm not talking about some lofty, abstract idea of life's meaning. I'm not talking about fulfilling a grand, philosophical purpose that echoes across the universe. I'm talking about the simple, small, personal purpose, the one that makes us feel needed, makes us want to wake up, step out of bed, and engage with the world. I've come to realize that purpose doesn't have to be a monumental task, nor does it need to be something that fills stadiums or captures headlines. It's in the small, seemingly insignificant actions that we do every day. The ritual of waking up and walking to the kitchen to make a cup of coffee. The quiet satisfaction of watering the plants early in the morning before the sun climbs too high. The little things, like putting out the bird feeder for the morning visitors or checking in on an elderly neighbor. It's the simple satisfaction of knowing that you are part of something, that you are giving something of yourself to the day, no matter how small. But what happens when these simple routines start to slip away? When you wake up and there's no need to get out of bed, no plants to water, no neighborhood cat to feed, no letters to write or errands to run. When mornings arrive with no reason to rise, and evenings fall without anything worth reflecting on. That's when the gradual loss of purpose begins to take root, and we don't even realize it until it's too late. It starts so subtly, like a whisper in the back of our minds, a thought that says, "I don't need to do this today," or "It doesn't matter anymore." The thing is, the mind and body are deeply connected. And when the mind loses sight of its purpose, the body begins to follow suit. The energy that once propelled you forward begins to fade. Your appetite starts to drop, not just for food but for life itself. The physical movement becomes slower, more reluctant. You stop doing the things that once brought you joy, and the body naturally begins to slow down, as though it's waiting for some cue to keep going. This isn't the body failing you. It's just waiting for the mind to reignite its spark, to give it a reason to move, a reason to engage, a reason to fight the fatigue and the inertia. But without purpose, the systems that once kept you vital, vibrant, and active start to fall silent. It's as though the body is on pause, waiting for something to shake it awake. It's easy to miss the signs because they happen so slowly over time. At first, you might think it's just a bad day, or maybe you're just feeling a little off. Maybe your weekly bridge game got canceled because the group disbanded. Maybe the church group you attended stopped meeting, or your old volunteer role ended after your knees started aching. It might be that family visits have become less frequent, or the people you once spent time with have moved away, leaving you with an empty schedule and no real reason to leave the house. You convince yourself that it's just a part of aging, that this is normal. But deep down, you can feel it, the slow, creeping emptiness that starts to fill your days. Each day, you start to notice that you're losing your way. The days blend, each one becoming quieter, more routine, more predictable, until the edges of life feel blurred and indistinct. You tell yourself that this is just part of growing older, that this is what happens when people settle down. But in your heart, you know it's more than that. It's the subtle erosion of something vitally important, the very essence of what makes us feel alive, connected, and engaged in our world. It's the loss of daily purpose, the small, meaningful actions that provide a reason to keep going, a reason to face each new day with something to do, something to look forward to, someone to care for. And here's the thing. You don't have to wait for big things to come along to reignite that sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be as simple as finding something to do with your hands. Maybe you take up gardening, or start a small creative project, like knitting a scarf or learning to paint. Perhaps you could reconnect with an old friend, start a new hobby, or find something in your community that sparks joy. Volunteering for a cause, even if just once a week, can do wonders. Maybe it's time to call that old friend you've lost touch with, or write a letter to your granddaughter. The key is to find those small, daily acts that restore the sense of I am needed, I have a purpose, and I matter. I believe this is the secret to thriving as we age. It's not about big accomplishments or life-changing events. It's about those quiet moments, those little rituals that give our lives shape and meaning. The act of simply taking part in life, in whatever way we can, even if it's just for ourselves. The more you invest in purpose, no matter how small, the more you'll find that the body listens to the mind, and both will start to feel energized again. So, if you feel like your days are blending into one another, if you're beginning to sense that something is missing, ask yourself, what can I do today, however small, that will give me a reason to rise, to act, to be? Don't let the erosion of purpose go unnoticed, because with each small act, you can reclaim what makes you feel truly alive, connected to yourself, to others, and the world around you. And it's never too late to begin again. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the end. I hope this video has given you a new perspective on the importance of daily purpose, and how even the smallest acts can reignite that spark inside you. It's so easy to let days blend, but with a little effort and intention, we can create a life full of meaning, no matter our age. So, what have you learned today? What's one thing from this video that you'll take with you and start practicing in your own life? I'd love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know how you plan to bring a little more purpose into your everyday routine. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave your comment, and please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos just like this. We're here to inspire and support each other in living our best lives at every stage. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.